Hello and welcome to History for Weirdos.
We're your hosts, Andrew
and Stephanie,
and each week we're going to take you on a journey into the strange, obscure, and relentlessly entertaining corners of human history.
Now listen up, friends, because it's about to get weird.
Weirdos, welcome back to another episode of History for Weirdos, and we're kicking off a special month, Paranormal April.
Ooh.
Very scary, I know.
Wait, that was so lame.
That was really lame. We're keeping that in. We're rolling.
No, okay, yeah, keep it in. Yes, this month we will each be covering paranormal stories. That's anything from like hauntings, aliens, or like the unexplained. So please, if you have any recommendations, you can let us know in the comments on Spotify or on our Instagram.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of Spotify, it was actually really cool. This past week, Stephanie and I went to a creator event at the Spotify HQ in downtown LA. We met a lot of other creators as well, including many other podcasters.
Yeah, it was so fun.
Yeah, that was really fun. And also special shout out to Johnny and Adele.
Who work at Spotify.
Yeah, Adele is our partner manager and Johnny's like our adopted partner manager.
I think that's the perfect way to describe him. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they made us feel so welcome. So thank you guys both.
Yeah, we loved it. If you keep up with us on Instagram at all, we shared pictures that we got our aura pictures taken on our stories. And that's where we got the pictures taken at the event.
Yes, that was really cool. I was really surprised. Orange and yellow for me, and for you, purple. I would have guessed that.
The violet specifically.
Violet.
That's a type of purple, right?
Oh, you're asking the absolute wrong person.
Nice.
Yeah, you should know that.
But it was really cool. It was really funky. I just want to share with the weirdos, this is Paranormal April, that they put you in like a little tent, a dark tent, and you sit in front of like a giant camera and you place each of your palms onto a metal box that's like connected to the camera. Mm-hmm. And then that snaps your aura photo. It kind of felt like something the spiritualists of Victorian era England would have loved.
Oh, they would have lost their shit.
Yeah. Right?
They would have had an amazing time with that.
I had an amazing time with that.
That's true. I mean, I did too. Who am I kidding?
Yeah, it was really cool.
That was really cool.
And just once again, thank you to Spotify, always making us feel so welcome.
Yes. Okay, so Stephanie, without further ado, what are we kicking this month off with?
We are kicking off Paranormal April with a recommendation from one of our patrons.
Yay!
Yay to the patrons!
The patrons!
We appreciate you all so much. This one was recommended by Perry, and another patron, Felicia, mentioned a similar story. This story will involve a haunted location.
Ooh, I love that already.
And Felicia said that she lives near a similar haunted location, so I may cover that one in the future. And Felicia, I may be bugging you for some notes on that for sure.
And we're usually a history podcast, but that's your future.
That's your future.
God,
right
that was
there.
so corny.
That's okay. We're having a corny day today.
Yeah, seriously.
But I'm going to be telling you all about Waverly Hills Sanatorium this week.
That sounds scary. Like Waverly Hills, that sounds like something that would be in like a Resident Evil game.
Mm-hmm. It does. It sounds like it would be in a horror movie where like a bunch of teenagers go and they're like, I'm not scared of Waverly Hills. And then a bunch of really scary stuff happens.
Yeah, like your quintessential like 80s maybe or 90s like teen horror.
Yes, that's exactly what I envision.
I love it. I love that vibe.
Someone make the movie.
Do it.
So let me get us started, okay? So in the early 1900s, Jefferson County, Kentucky was ravaged by an outbreak of tuberculosis.
Oh, God.
There was a lot of tuberculosis during this time, which I will get into, but this area specifically was more vulnerable. It was known as the White Plague, and this prompted construction of a new hospital. The sanatorium originally opened in 1910 as a 2-story facility that had like maybe 40 to 50 patients at a time.
Okay.
Today, It's known as one of the most haunted places in the world.
Oh my God. Do you think it rivals Poveglia?
Yes.
Wow.
Probably Poveglia has seen even more death and despair, but this would be like a mini American Poveglia.
That's even more haunted, apparently.
Maybe. I don't know.
I guess like when you get to that level
How do you measure hauntedness?
Yeah, scientists, you tell us.
Yeah. What's
How do you measure?
scientists? I definitely
I
think
sounded so dumb when as soon as I said that, I was like, wow,
I think
that was really stupid.
No, I think all the scientists are going to get on that.
All the
now.
scientists, you're gonna figure it out for us.
They're going to put their little time travel notebooks to the side and they're going to be like, hauntings, how do I measure this?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to start off with a quote from the website of Waverly Hills because I think it sets the tone.
Okay.
Ready? The website says, though its doors have been closed to patients for more than half a century, it seems not all the occupants have left the Waverly Hills Sanatorium.
Oh my God, that's the official welcome message or whatever. That's insane.
Spooky.
That's spooky.
Okay. So before we get into Waverly Hills specifically, we're going to touch a little bit on tuberculosis and sanatoriums just to give folks some background knowledge. I've talked about both of these topics, funny enough, in previous episodes, and I will tell you what those episodes are if you want to go back and listen to them.
Lovely.
So, tuberculosis.
Let's hear about it.
Also known as TB. It's an infectious disease caused by the Microbacterium tuberculosis.
Mm-hmm.
Surprising. It primarily affects the lungs, but it can infect other parts of the body, such as the kidneys, spine, and the brain. I didn't know it could affect the brain.
I didn't know that either. That sounds even more terrifying.
Yeah.
This is a terrible disease.
Apparently, if it affects the brain, you experience a lot of like severe mental illness symptoms. Like you kind of lose your mind.
Unsurprising.
Mm-hmm. TB has been present throughout human history. It's not new. It's evolved a lot with us. Kind of creepy.
That's really creepy.
And it has been known by many names, including consumption. And like I mentioned, the White Plague is another one that it's called.
Yeah, consumption chic.
Yes. So according to the Greek Clarismus Galen.
Oh, Galen.
Who became the personal physician of a man you may be familiar with, Andrew.
I'm going to guess it's Marcus Aurelius.
Yes. Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius.
Thank you. I wouldn't have known he was a Roman emperor.
According to Marcus Aurelius's doctor, basically, the symptoms of TB include fever, sweating, coughing, and blood-stained sputum or mucus.
Ooh.
Galen's prescription to treat TB is fresh air, milk, and sea voyages.
That's actually adorable. I don't think that's very accurate.
I feel like that sounded to me, I incorporated it because it was a way to mention ancient Rome for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
A little nod to you.
Yeah.
Try to impress you.
I'm impressed.
And because I feel like the prescription of fresh air, milk, and sea voyages sounds like something Paddington would tell you to do if you had tuberculosis.
Oh my God.
Doesn't it? And a marmalade sandwich.
Oh my God. That's actually, I have no rebuttal to that. I think that is correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's all I want to hear.
Absolutely.
So historically, TB has been a major cause of illness and death for humans all over the world, but particularly in the 19th and early 20th centuries, we tend to associate TB with this time.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch like period pieces or you read books, poetry from the 19th century, they're going to mention some tuberculosis, you know?
Of course.
During this time, TB killed 1 out of every 7 people living in the US and Europe.
Okay, that's horrific.
It killed a lot of the population, actually.
I knew it was infectious and it did kill quite a bit of people. I didn't realize it was that deadly, though.
Yeah. It's extremely deadly. They didn't have they had ways to sort of treat the symptoms, and if you could survive the symptoms long enough, you could prevail against the disease, but most of the time they were just treating the symptoms to make the inevitable death more comfortable.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not fun.
It spreads easily too.
Mm-hmm.
It spreads easily in crowded or unsanitary living conditions like tenements, prisons. And even today, if you don't get like legit TB treatment, you will die.
And it can also be carried by water, right? Like if like it was in wells in like Victorian England.
I think that's a really good question. I wish I had a doctorate in like epidemiology.
Yeah, I don't know why I asked you that. I just feel like we talked about something like that in the future, or we even listened to a podcast that mentioned that.
I know that it's often spread by water droplets in like the human mouth, basically.
Right, or like coughs and stuff.
You cough, you sneeze, or you talk and you get some spit on someone else. That's typically how it's passed. I don't know if it can sit in water.
Interesting.
Weirdos. Look it up.
Let us know.
Let us know. And you mentioned consumption chic earlier. We do cover the bizarre trend of looking consumption chic in episode 104. If you want to listen to that, weirdos.
That one is a mind-blowing one. Like it's so stupid. But then I mean it makes you look at the trends that we have today and we're like, wow, no, some of these trends are really stupid.
But I think you're right. It is stupid because I just shared how deadly this is.
Right.
How awful it can be. It can infect your brain. And people were like, "Oh my God, that's so chic. I want to look like that.
I want to look like an artist."
Mm-hmm. That was the idea.
Unbelievable. Unreal.
So, in response to the rise of TB in the 19th century, sanatoriums were built. This was, they're called sanatoriums because it sounds like the Latin word sanare, which means to heal or to make healthy.
Wow.
And the approach of a sanatorium was to treat or cure tuberculosis with the principles of hygiene, just like keeping everything very clean, which is a good start.
Right.
Isolating people. So sanatoriums are always going to be like in the middle of the woods, on a lonely hillside, sometimes by the beach, but there better be no other people around for miles.
So it really truly is like the setting of every horror movie ever made.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the isolation is to prevent the spread, obviously. They wanted to treat people with fresh air, exercise, and good nutrition.
It's not terrible.
No, those principles aren't bad.
Right.
But it's going to get bad in a little bit.
It wouldn't be history for weirdos if it didn't.
That's true. Like I mentioned, they're often located like in isolated but healthy climates. So not places that are like freezing or very humid, but kind of more temperate places, usually in the countryside. And like the bougier ones would provide like a really idyllic, pretty backdrop, like a beach or something like that. And when patients weren't outdoors, they would listen to the radio, watch films, or they could even go attend like lectures and things like that. Waverly Hills specifically was very self-sufficient. I don't know if this is the case for other sanatoriums, but because it had to be so isolated, they had their own farm and their own post office on campus.
Their own post office? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Impressive.
Yes. And just a fun fact, some famous historical figures that stayed in sanitariums while they were alive include Thomas Edison.
It's pretty famous.
He's all right. Amelia Earhart and Henry Ford.
Wow, those are some big names.
Those are some really big names, chilling in the sanitariums. And we covered another scary sanitarium in our episode Starvation Heights.
Oh my God, yes.
Which did not have the best interest of patients in mind.
No, that one was horrible.
The patients were victims, not patients. And if you haven't heard that tale, you can check it out in episode 89 called Starvation Heights.
Nice. I know you a lot of throwbacks already this episode. I like it.
Yeah. Okay, now we're going to specifically get into Waverly Hills. Now that we have all of that TB and sanatorium knowledge, okay?
I mean, just nice, uplifting, family-friendly information, right?
Yes. Thank you.
You got it.
So the land where Waverly Hills is located was purchased in 1883 by a man named Major Thomas Hayes.
Major Thomas Hayes. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Hayes bought this really big chunk of land just for him and his family to live on in Kentucky. And it was so big and random and remote. There were no schools around. So he had to set up his own little DIY schoolhouse for his daughters. And he hired a teacher named Lizzie Lee Harris to start classes for the kids. I believe other kids in the area were welcome to come also.
Okay.
They'd obviously have to go really far to get there.
Right.
Miss Harris was really into these novels by author Walter Scott that were called like the Waverly novels. I'm not familiar with them at all. But she was so enamored with them that she dubbed the place the Waverly School.
Wow. All over like a book series?
Yeah, that she really liked.
It's kind of weird, but okay.
Yeah. But the owner of the property, Major Hayes, he really liked the name. He liked how it sounded. So that's how the entire property got the name Waverly Hill.
Okay. I mean, it is a pretty name. I'll give it that.
Pretty and spooky somehow.
Yeah, like Waverly. It could be like, it was once highly regarded, but now the vines are like growing too far.
Yeah.
Like
Everything's
walls are
overgrown
crumbling
and decayed.
Yes.
Totally. That's the vibe.
The travesty of Waverly Hill.
Yes. That is absolutely the vibe. Then the board of tuberculosis hospital eventually took over the land and they stuck with the name. They liked it too. They're like, yeah, that's super cute. I don't know the exact date though that the property transferred from the Hayes family to the tuberculosis board. And it was really bothering me because I kept thinking you were going to ask.
Oh, I don't care.
I don't believe that for a second.
I really don't. I didn't even
I thought
think
you
to
were going to
ask.
be like, wait, when did it go from this guy to that guy? I don't know, babe.
Oh, I
just did.
didn't even. Yeah, I don't care.
See, weirdos, sometimes we make up stories in our minds.
Yeah.
And they're not real. Okay, so anyway, there were lots of tuberculosis cases in Louisville because I didn't know this, I've never been to Kentucky, there's a lot of wetlands.
Oh, I didn't know that actually.
All along the Ohio River. And so I guess it does sit in water because this is perfect breeding ground apparently for tuberculosis bacteria.
Oh, isn't that fun?
Yeah. So therefore, the board of the tuberculosis hospital, they were given $25,000 to erect a hospital for the care and advanced cases of pulmonary tuberculosis to get folks out of the general city hospital. And that hospital is just called City Hospital every time it's referenced. It's a normal hospital, can't handle the demand. We need to build a special TB hospital.
Fun.
And keep these people isolated. Over time, so they do that. They build like a little structure. I mentioned at the beginning, it can hold at that point like 40 to 50 beds. But the wooden structure just honestly like isn't enough. It's not sturdy enough. It's like kind of like shoddy build.
Yeah.
And it's not big enough to meet the demand. They needed something grander. So they were like, let's build a super spooky looking building.
Ooh, why not?
Why not?
Go big or go home, guys.
In March of 1924, they started construction on a massive 5-story building that could handle over 400 patients. In the process, they created this like Gothic Tudor style big building, which in my opinion is spooky AF.
So do you think they tried to make it spooky looking, or is that just the design of the time?
I'm pretty sure they were like, one day this would make a really cool haunted hospital.
Okay, so that was the vibe they were going with from day one. I can't even keep a straight face.
Honestly, to be serious though, I have always disliked, and I hope to not offend anyone that maybe lives in a home that looks like this, I really don't like Tudor architecture. Like Tudor style homes were really popular probably around this time. I think they look very creepy.
Yeah, they do look really creepy. Again, no offense to anyone, but they're not my favorite.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, they're not my favorite.
They're very dark. The windows are small. It just looks like someone has plague in there.
Give me a Spanish style or a Mediterranean style any day of the week, and I'm happy.
Hell
You
I
also
agree.
like Craftsman. I tolerate
do.
Craftsman.
I think the old Craftsman cottages are so cute.
Okay, they are kind of cute, but
Mhm.
Spanish style all the way for me.
Yeah, I could see that. So they have their big, giant, spooky hospital, and they open the doors for this new structure for the first time on October 17th, 1926. My abue would be born in just a couple years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is pre your abue.
That's how old this is.
That's old. And she's old, guys.
She just had her birthday.
Her 95th or 6th or something.
I think 96. She just turned 96 on April 4th. Feliz cumple, abue.
Wow. That's wild.
I know. She is history.
Le history c'est moi.
Right? So, an interesting feature of this building is a large tunnel that it has. The tunnel was meant to transport supplies in and out of the sanatorium, but I'll get to what happens.
Okay.
It runs along the first floor corridor. It's about it goes like from the hospital, like 500 feet to the bottom of the hill.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a set of stairs on the side. So there's like tunnel, but then you could walk along on stairs. And a lot of workers would use that to like get in it. Like, oh, let me go up to the hospital, get in, get out, right?
Right.
And then on the other side, there was a cart that would also move up and down the staircase in case you're carrying like a ton of heavy supplies. You could just load up the cart and like push it along with you.
Mm-hmm.
But sadly, at one point for this sanatorium, the death rate was a steady 1 death per day.
Ooh, that is really bad. Jesus.
And
That's like at that point, I mean,
they didn't want to lower morale for patients. So they decided we're going to use the tunnel to transport bodies in and out without people really seeing what's going on. And the doctors and workers also believed that this would help lower the disease spreading rate, but everyone who's there is already sick or an employee interacting with sick people, so I don't think that's accurate.
right. That's a really good point. That's what I thought it too. And then, but you just applied just a slight bit of logic, and I was like, oh, yeah, absolutely, you're right.
It doesn't really make sense. I think they
doesn't.
just kind of wanted to avoid things looking bad.
Yeah, and I don't blame them. I mean, that does look really bad.
That would be such a bummer.
But also, if like this place only has 40 to 50 beds.
At this point, this is the big one, so it can hold 400.
Oh, 400. I'm sorry. Oh, wow. Okay. So that means, but basically within a year, you almost have an entirely new
That's true.
like, cohort of people.
New cohort. That's a cute way of looking at it.
Yeah. I didn't know how else to describe them.
No, you're right. Like within a year, you could lose almost all the patients. And
Right.
yeah. So, of course, this tunnel became known as the body chute or the death tunnel.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough, man.
Locals knew it from the beginning. It's been like one of the earliest like explored parts of the hospital. It's apparently very haunted, and I've seen videos and pictures of it. It looks very spooky.
So we wouldn't want to stay there like late at night in the dark.
Absolutely not. How dare you ask this?
I know. I think you would legitimately have a heart attack.
Oh, God. Probably. I just got nervous thinking about it. And with that high, number of death, it kind of makes sense also because honestly, some of the interventions they were using to treat TB would definitely increase the use of the body chute. You know how I said like sanatoriums were like, oh, let's give them fresh air and exercise.
Right.
Waverly Hills did that, but they also did other things,
Lovely.
including ECT
Why would you do that on a TB patient?
if it spread to their brain. They thought that the shocks would get it out of their brain. It didn't.
Yeah, no.
They also had an intervention where they would surgically implant balloons into a patient's lungs and try to expand the balloons so that they could breathe better, like that the lungs would expand. Because essentially TB like erodes the lungs.
Right.
And then they had an operation where the muscles and the like floating rib, like some muscle and floating ribs were removed from a patient's chest because again they were like, maybe this will help the lungs expand more because the ribs protect the lungs.
Right.
But it didn't.
It did not.
It didn't help.
That's not surprising.
These aggressive interventions were seen as a last resort. But to be honest, I felt bad even reading the research. It really sounds like people that don't know what else to do and they're desperate.
That's what it sounds like. I can't even necessarily fault these doctors because it's like, well, they're going to die anyways. So it's like, well, let's just throw a Hail Mary and see what happens. It's not working out, but at least they're trying.
But they're trying. And they don't have a cure, so they're trying to figure out what could be a cure.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Also, for those of you who don't know what a Hail Mary is, it's a play in like American football where at the end, usually at the very end of the game, you don't really have any other play to play, and you have to go like a large distance in a very short amount of time. The quarterback will just kind of chuck the ball up in the air, and hopefully someone on their team will catch it at the end zone.
A Hail Mary is also a Catholic prayer called the Hail Mary.
Yes, that is true, and that's where the name comes from. But like in this context, that is what's being referred to.
Did you know I can say the Hail Mary in French?
Can you say it in Latin though?
No.
Yeah, so I guess you're not that good of a Catholic.
Just English, French, and Spanish. I'm sorry that I didn't
learn
good enough. Latin along the way.
Not good enough. Even though I don't know it in any language. But I'm also not Catholic, so.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, yes, I am.
Yeah.
Stephanie's family.
Totally.
Anyways. That was like perfect timing.
So then, in 1961, they shut down the hospital, but for good reasons. A new antibiotic, streptomycin, was doing a bang-up job of keeping people healthy. Yay!
Yay, strangomyces, whatever.
They could finally treat TB, right?
That's awesome.
Historically in the world, everyone's like, oh my God. And then they developed vaccines and like TB became less of an issue. So
that's a huge breakthrough.
Huge. So by 61, they really didn't need the hospital anymore, which is great.
Let's go.
Any remaining patients who were still kind of like recovering were sent to Hazelwood Sanatorium in Louisville. And Waverly Hills officially closed June of that year, June of 61. The building is reopened in 1962 as, under a different name, as Woodhaven Geriatric Center, a nursing home primarily treating aging patients with various stages of dementia and mobility limitation. Many would have been considered mentally handicapped.
I see.
However, Woodhaven failed greatly.
My God.
It was severely understaffed and overcrowded.
That's
the spirit of our for-profit American healthcare system. Not that I'm biased or anything.
I know. It kind of reminds me of a past episode we had on and I covered it, and I'm literally blanking on the name. The Sanitorium with the Geraldo Rivera.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm blanking on the name.
It was the facility for special needs kids.
Right, that one.
Yeah, overcrowded, understaffed. And similar to that, it was discovered that there was patient neglect and possibly abuse. So the state of Kentucky closed it by 82.
Wow. So this is, systemic problem in the U.S. It sounds like here, neglect.
That's what happens when you have a for-profit healthcare system. It really does.
In case you guys weren't aware where Stephanie stands on that.
Stephanie's a social worker, just in case we forgot. So other weird stuff happens with this property, but honestly, I was like, what? Like, none of it's like crazy interesting enough. It was just like people try to like make it into stuff and it never works.
Right. You're like, oh, that's peculiar.
Yeah. I guess maybe the curse is like failed projects is
so
what continues to happen.
There's a lot of failed projects here.
But when we think of this location, how many people died? That's the question you keep asking me.
Yeah, how many people died?
Well, Andrew, there are conflicting reports as to how many people died during Waverly Hills' decades of operation. Some claim that tens of thousands have died within the walls, but that's likely an exaggeration. Mm-hmm. It's been estimated based on remaining death certificates that at least 6,000 people died there.
Okay, so the very least 6,000. It could be 10,000.
Mm-hmm. This is a lot less than like what a lot of the legends might say, but that's actually still a huge number when you think it's like a single building.
Right. 6,000 people died within these walls. Like that's a lot.
Well, it's a lot. And there were weird stories that I found that they kind of sounded almost like stuff that teenagers would tell their little siblings. So I originally wasn't going to include it. But their other reported deaths on the facility were this one room within the hospital, room 502, maybe 205, but I think 502, where a nurse died by suicide.
Oh.
And then a year later, another nurse died.
Same room?
The same room, but an accidental death.
Wow.
Which I was like, that's really cool, but did someone's big brother make this up?
Right.
I don't know. So a lot of death associated with this place regardless. Let's get into the hauntings then. A lot of death means a lot of ghosts.
Let's do it.
Since Waverly Hills was left to decay, the abandoned building became like the local haunted house, and it was a magnet for homeless people looking for shelter and, of course, teenagers.
Those hooligans.
The teenagers would often break in looking for ghosts or to vandalize things or drink, do drugs, whatever teenagers do. It's been so long since I've been a teenager.
It's been a long time now. I know.
The hospital soon gained a reputation for being haunted, and stories began to circulate from local residents that ghosts like a little girl were seen running up and down, specifically the third floor. Multiple people report on the third floor there's a little girl. A little boy who I believe has been dubbed Timmy has been spotted with a leather ball, like one of those old-fashioned, kind of like a baseball almost. We will get to Timmy again in a little bit.
Oof.
And regularly people will see a hearse in the back of the building.
What? Like a hearse? Okay, in the building, a hearse.
No, in the back.
Oh, in the back. Oh,
like it's there to like pick up.
And then they go back and there's no hearse there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
I would have definitely owned a hearse business like in the, the 40s and 50s.
Yeah, you'd make good money.
I know. I'd be rich. That's so dark.
So dark. Well, anyway, visitors also often report things like slamming doors. It's a completely run down building, so there's no electricity, but they'll see like lights in the windows as if the power all of a sudden is still running in a certain room. You'll hear strange sounds, eerie footsteps. Numerous people will report ghostly figures dressed in old-fashioned clothing, often appearing suddenly and then vanishing without a trace. I have seen pictures of these like apparitions that people have taken. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Of course, you could argue the photo's doctored or they staged it. That's possible. I don't know, but it looks legit.
And they're startling photos.
It's just like a person like down the hallway.
And you're like, oh.
And you're like, I thought I was the only one here.
And oh God, those
so creepy.
I can't remember the name of these movies, but there were two of them where like it was kind of like a found footage.
Oh.
Yeah, and they go into a sanatorium.
No.
Oh God, yeah, and it's like, the time isn't like it's not moving properly. Like it's like they've been in there for like days at that point, and it's always dark, and they can't go out the front door.
Oh,
it's
wow.
just like, I hate it so much.
I would never watch that.
No, it was terrifying. I watched it in, I think, college or shortly thereafter, and I had never watched them again.
And it was a series?
Just 2 movies.
Okay. Weirdos. Someone knows and they're like screaming.
Yeah, like, oh, I know that
blah,
movie.
blah, blah.
And I it's weird that I know that there are 2 of them, but I can't remember the name of them.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
It's because it's a very creepy setting.
It's really creepy. I think it just creeped me the hell out.
It's good for a horror movie.
Right.
And then additionally, because of all of the rumors or like locals talking about what they were seeing, professional paranormal investigators, what a cool job, have taken interest in Waverly Hills. And something that they use is an EVP. It's an electronic voice thingy to measure electronic voice phenomena thingy.
Okay, fair.
Is like a tape recorder, but it can record ghost sounds. I don't know how it works.
That sounds like such shenanigans.
Right? Scientists, get on that one. Tell us what's going on.
All the scientists, even geologists.
But on these recordings, and I heard some of them, you can hear like whispers.
Oh,
it's weird.
I don't like that.
I couldn't hear like any words or anything, but you can hear like unintelligible like sounds. And of course, people say that it is voices of spirits that got stuck there and are trying to communicate with us.
Or what if they're demons?
What if they're demons?
Because there's so much like death there. But you know what's weird? It doesn't sound like there was like a lot of like malice.
No, I think bad things happen, but I don't think maliciously. I think it's just like, oh, we're trying our best and failing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So I don't think there would be a lot of demons.
Right. That's a fair point.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
And then in my research, highly academic, I watched the BuzzFeed Unsolved
Yes, I remember those.
with
Shane
and Ryan,
yes.
are the hosts.
Oh my God.
I love them. I watched their Unsolved episode for the Villisca Axe murders, actually.
Oh, interesting.
I don't remember the episode number. But so I saw this again and I was like, I love these guys. And there was one scene that really gave me chills that I wanted to share.
Okay, tell me.
Like, go watch the full episode if you're interested in this place at all. And they're so hilarious. But this scene was so spooky. So they were testing out the theory of the little boy, Timmy, who has the leather ball. So they had a ball with them and they went to where Timmy's supposed to be. And for some background, actually, if you aren't aware of this BuzzFeed series, it's two guys. Shane is like the skeptic.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't think ghosts are real. And he thinks all of these places that they go to, it's just BS. It's just people seeing and hearing what they want to see and hear.
Right.
And then Ryan is more of a believer. And he's actually looking for evidence of ghosts and paranormal activity. So Ryan, the believer, is the one who has the ball. And he was like, hey, Timmy, I'm going to throw you a ball. They're in the hospital corridor. He throws it down the hall. And even Shane goes, oh, what? And they have to replay the tape because he throws the ball and you hear it bounce down the hall and then it stops, like it petered out. And then you hear it bounce 2 more times.
Oh my God, I just got chills. No.
So they were like, oh, that was weird. So they go and look for the ball. And it's not like directly down the hallway. It's to the left inside a patient room. And Ryan freaks out because he goes to grab the ball. And on the wall, it says Ryan.
No.
Isn't that crazy?
I'm a little bit more on the skeptic side, but still more kind of like in the middle, I'd say. That freaks me out.
So that host, Ryan, he's like, he's taken aback. He's like, what the? He's a little spooked, but Shane's like cracking up. And he's like, oh, come on. Like, that's just a coincidence. Like, on the other wall, it says, I love pot. Like, what? Is the ghost like a pothead or something? Like, it does. There's graffiti everywhere.
Right.
But the ball is like right under Ryan. And it's Ryan who threw the ball.
Yeah, that is a little weird. I mean, I see both, right?
Yeah.
It probably is coincidence. I mean, Ryan is a very common name.
That's true.
But if it was something like, I don't know, Shaniqua or something like more Mufasa, like, yeah, like that would be a little bit more freaky.
Mm-hmm.
That one would be weird.
Yeah. But I thought that I got chills. I thought that was worth sharing with the weirdos.
I still got chills though. Yeah.
So the history of Waverly Place continues. In 2001, it's purchased by Charles and Tina Mattingly.
Okay.
They still own it today. They purchased the property and they had the idea of restoring it and making it into, I think, a hotel. But they had like friends and family helping out and everyone was like, oh, heck no. Their doors are slamming. They kept seeing this man in the hall who like wasn't with them. And so they decided, okay, let's not repair this. Let's open this up for tours.
Right.
And visitors continue to corroborate these paranormal experiences. And then I thought you would think this is fun. On August 11th, 2007, Waverly Hills Sanatorium hosted the last show of a touring music festival, Sounds of the Underground, which is a heavy metal traveling music festival.
Oh, that's incredible.
That's rock and roll.
That's rock and roll, man.
Isn't that so funny?
That's awesome.
Weirdos, would you go to a concert in a haunted sanatorium?
I would.
You would?
100% I would. That'd be so much fun.
I would not.
But it was also because I'm like kind of in the middle of the believer skeptic scale. You know, I guess I lean more towards the believer if I'm being honest. But I still have like a good like dose of skepticism.
Yeah. And it sounds like even though you believe, you don't get like scared.
No.
I do. I wouldn't go.
She does the sign of the cross. Oh my God.
So today, that family, the Mattingly family that owns Waverly Hills, they give both historical and supernatural tours of the facility.
Oh, that's cool.
So if you want to learn about the history of sanatoriums, tuberculosis, it's a good spot to go to.
Oh, that's fun.
If you want to go at night, it's going to get spooky. You'll get a spooky tour.
I want to go at night.
And they also host an annual haunted house. And guess what?
What?
They're currently hiring part-time positions.
Oh my God, they should pay us.
No, I'm not going. No, we're not going. We're not working there. And now that it's like a lot of people are interested in this facility again, the family once again hopes to turn the property into a hotel, but like a spooky hotel.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Ooh!
I would be okay. Like going there is one thing, but like spending the night there, that's another.
Yeah.
That's another
thing altogether. You'd have to try to sleep. No.
You wouldn't be able to sleep.
Of course not.
I would.
I can't sleep if there's a spider in the room.
Yeah. Literally, that's a true story, guys.
If Andrew's not home to kill the spider, which has happened, and there's a spider in the room, I'm not sleeping. I'm not going to let the spider catch me off guard. Heck no.
Yeah, we're not staying there.
Overall, Waverly Hills Sanatorium still stands as a fascinating blend of medical history and supernatural lore.
I love it. This is quintessential history for weirdos.
Mm-hmm. It draws visitors from around the world to uncover its mysteries, and it is considered one of the most haunted places on the planet.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
We have to go.
Weirdos, leave us a comment on Spotify or on our Instagram if you think this is haunted or if it's just people seeing what they want to see. I'm really curious to hear what the weirdos think.
I'm curious too. No, I think it's partly haunted.
I think so. I think I have a very weird, which is perfect, I guess, for this podcast, view on ghosts. I don't think they're like necessarily like sentient beings that are trying to haunt you or harm you. I feel almost like they're energetic echoes. Like
facsimiles from like the present or possibly the future.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the past or the future.
Mm-hmm. That's how I see them. So I definitely see somewhere where there was a lot of death, a lot of sadness, a lot of things going on, how like that energy could be preserved there. Mm-hmm. And that might be what people are feeling.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know if Timmy's real or not, but he definitely spooked me.
Timmy. No, Timmy is definitely real.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, I'm concluding that case closed.
Well, let me share my sources for this week because they were good. The CDC. History of World TB Day, which was March 24th.
Oh, stunning.
Because TB is still an issue in a lot of countries, and we need to get vaccines to everyone. And the Journal of Preventative Medicine and Hygiene, they had an article on the history of TB by Barbarous et al. See, I wanted
Barbarous.
The Waverly Hills Sanatorium.com, that's the official website. And then I wanted to cite Ryan Bergara and Shane Madej from BuzzFeed Unsolved. Thank you guys.
I know. Thank you for all the
content.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Then AmericanHauntingsInc.com and Wikipedia.
Lovely. Thank you so much. I had no idea about this place.
I had no idea either. We shared what the theme for this month would be last month with our patrons, asked for some suggestions, and this one really resonated with me.
Yes, and one of our patrons actually suggested my next episode, but no spoilers yet.
It's going to be, no, I'm giving a spoiler. It's going to be paranormal, but in a very different way.
Yeah, it could be out of this world even.
It could be.
Oh.
Who knows?
Well, weirdos, thank you so much for listening. You know the drill by now, right? If you're not following us on Instagram, I don't know what you're doing. You need to go and do that right now. Also, if you're listening on Spotify, please feel free to leave a comment as well. You can always find us also and on Instagram, at History for Weirdos, or email us historyforweirdos@gmail.com.
And if you're interested in joining us and our patrons on Patreon, you will find that information in the description of this episode.
Yes, thank you. And that's it, weirdos. Until next week.
Until next time.
Adios.
When you start a podcast, one of the most horrible things is that you realize that your voice sucks and your face is lopsided.
No, your voice does not suck, and it's beautiful.
Thank you.